You're listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Hello and welcome to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. I'm your host Nesbitt, and this week we have another cool interview. Listeners of this podcast will know Savage Master. We've talked about them on here before. A week ago, they released a new album, Dark and Dangerous. You can check out savagemasterofficial.bandcamp.com for more info about that. But Night Demon's Jarvis Leatherby recently sat down with Adam Neal and Stacey Savage of the band. Hope you enjoy it. This is the Savage Master interview.
All right. Hey, guys.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good.
With Adam Neal and Stacey Savage here of Savage Master.
That's right.
Am I right?
That's correct. Oh, yeah. Glad to be here.
Thanks for having us, man.
We've known each other for a long time.
It's quite a long time.
2013, you guys started the band, right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So coming up on 12 years now.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
Yeah.
I'd say better than we originally expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you always hope, right?
Yeah.
For sure. You know.
When you guys started the band, did you guys have? I mean, I kind of know that. Well, take me back a little bit. So you had the idea for the band kind of already before you guys knew each other.
A little bit of it, yeah. A little bit.
So kind of go into that a little bit.
I'd been touring around with my punk band at the time, and I really wanted to play like new wave of British heavy metal type stuff. That was in my head big time. Like, I want to do this kind of music. I listened to it constantly, and it was like one of those jumps where like, why am I not just playing this music that I really love, you know? And so I had a handful of little things I'd written kind of in that vein. You know, the original concept for the band was called Leather Blood.
Oh, nice. That
was the original idea, before it became Savage Master a little bit later. But so I had like a couple of pieces, like the song Marry the Wolf, and I had Death Rides the Highway. I had both those songs pretty much complete.
Now lyrics too? Were you writing lyrics?
With lyrics as well. I had the whole concept for those two at least going in. I happened to meet Stacey through a mutual friend, and that kind of set it all off, really, because we got to talking, and she had done a demo with a friend of Judas Priest's Starbreaker. And so she sent me that. Well, as soon as I seen a picture of her, I thought, oh, yes, this is going to work, you know, because she's real pretty and, like, way younger than I was. And I was like, that's exactly what we need. I don't want any more old guys in the band. That's what I was thinking at the time, you know. And because I wanted to do something different, a little more, like, extravagant than just a regular jeans and T-shirt band, you know what I mean? And so she sent me Starbreaker, and I listened to it, and I was blown away by it. I was like, oh, this is it. We're doing this for sure. No matter what, I can make a band with this chick, you know.
That's
what
amazing.
I thought.
So you were living, you're from Louisville.
Yeah.
And were you as well?
I was living in Louisville at the time, I grew up in Tennessee, but I moved up there with a friend, and
So how long had you been living there at the time?
I moved up basically around the end of the world, the 2012 Mayan calendar time is when I moved up there.
Nostradamus.
So
December 21st, 2012 was the day you moved.
Yeah. I moved a few months before that. I moved up there. That's what always sticks in my mind. But and I was looking for a band, and I met some people online, and we had this mutual friend, and then so we were seeing each other's comments, and then we started chatting it up about music.
Yeah, and that sounds pretty just like normal, but in Kentucky, this is just not something you've seen. I didn't meet very many other people, especially during that time period. I think now you probably are saying we take a little bit of this for granted that there's such a scene for this.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this.
There wasn't,
Yeah, it's really interesting, right?
Yeah.
So when you're in Tennessee, are you in a bigger city, a smaller town?
Smaller,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is kind of like moving to a bigger city for you. For opportunities like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the reason, right?
Yeah.
See, with Night Demon 2, it was the same. It was we grew up in a complete punk rock scene.
Yeah.
There was zero metal bands.
Yeah.
Right. Zero. There were Sirathungal, but they were long gone, and they were pretty much made fun of in the whole scene.
Right. Yeah.
So it was the same thing. It was our love of new wave of British heavy metal. We were a three-piece only out of necessity. We wanted a second guitarist. I didn't want to be the singer.
Right.
But there was only two other guys that were into it. You know? And we were doing it for fun because we were nobody's going to care about this stuff. But we felt like we have to get it out of ourselves because
we felt the same.
It's been in us for so long.
It was about playing that kind of music more than it was about anything else.
Right.
There certainly didn't seem to be any success or anything attached to the end of it. You know what I mean? You weren't thinking that at all.
Not one bit. Not one bit.
It was like a dead end almost. From the start, you knew.
Completely from the start. Even for us, I remember we had no ambitions to even be a band. We were we just want to make a 7-inch.
Wow.
That's it. If we could do that, we're good. And our record our first 7-inch, our first EP didn't come out for, I think, maybe over a year and a half, maybe 2 years after we recorded it. We were never trying to be a band. Because we didn't really think, come on,
in my head, my only goal was maybe we get an album out.
Yeah.
Maybe we could convince somebody to put an album out by us. And that would be kind of the end of the road.
I wasn't even going that far that anybody would do it.
That was in the back of my mind, maybe an album,
See, we had no knowledge of the underground subculture in Europe or anything.
Right.
We came late to the party as far as the stuff. We were on the internet looking for stuff, old stuff. We didn't know that these bands were still playing or
same here. I think we were somewhat ignorant of the whole scene over there, or at least that it was so strong.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
Until we started going over.
Right, and in the States, it's so much better now. But
gosh, yeah. There's a band in almost every city. Yeah. That's a big difference. It's a big
really
difference.
Crazy, right? And sometimes I wonder, was there always a band in every city? We just
didn't know.
We weren't on the scene, so we didn't know.
Well, but there wasn't, because in Louisville, it turns out there were a couple of other earlier, somewhat traditional metal bands that were trying to do stuff,
right,
but just weren't successful enough to get in front of us
right,
or other people, really.
Right.
But yeah, the city to city thing. I remember when you guys were first doing it, you were playing with anybody because of the situation. There wasn't another band for you to be hey, we'll play here with these guys.
Right.
There were a handful, but you know what I mean. It was play death metal shows, play stoner doom shows, anything you could get. It was that.
We were
just playing for that audience and trying to hope they liked it.
Yeah, we would end up but that's the cool thing about this style of music. You end up on a stoner doom fest, and you're kind of like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
And everybody that's into any kind of metal subgenre these days, they all came from here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they can all identify and go, oh, you know what, this is pretty cool. Or
right.
Or if you're playing we've played all black metal festivals in Europe, and it's it's summertime, it's beautiful, you're in the forest, and people are just it's you can't out heavy every other band,
That's
know.
So true.
So sometimes you come up there, it's a breath of fresh air. And people are all okay, man, I'm gonna let loose. This is cool, right?
Regular songs, a good vibe and stuff like that. Yeah, we've experienced that being kind of like a diamond in the darkness.
Yeah,
of the show
but
sometimes.
see, you guys still have you guys still have an evil element to it, which that's cool because you have the imagery. that lends itself to all this, because if you even talk about bands like Ghost, right, which like musically, like it's very poppy, but the imagery rock, right, is like, and the story behind it, like that's kind of what made it accessible to metal and stuff like this, right? It's all that. And I also think that when you talk about these other bands that aren't as discovered, like you have to be able to go out of your shell and get out there for people to, even in your own town, right?
Oh man,
so
big
like
time.
I think coming from punk rock like definitely helps that. You're used to the communal aspect, the DIY aspect, connecting with people, playing, setting up a show anywhere, really.
That's totally
see, most people in the metal, I mean, they're stereotypically, like insular people. So it's like there could be a band in the basement that like these guys don't even know anybody else. You know what I mean? So it's
they don't know a way to get out there.
No, they don't even know another. These are all the people that they actually even know, and that's why they're in a band together, right? So it's kind of, but I think the internet obviously has opened up things as far as
it definitely helps.
Yeah, it definitely helps. There's nothing that replaces face-to-face contact ever.
True.
I noticed that,
True.
man. I know, like I'm not even on tour right now, and that's why I'm still touring. Yeah. So we're here in Tulsa at this festival, 2 Minutes of Tulsa, which you guys played before.
That's right. Wonderful festival.
But I think that's really important to know for a lot of people, how to get a band off the ground. I mean, how long it really takes and how much work.
It's like you were saying about the coming from a kind of punk ethos place. I think that was totally true of us. Like I thought, I never had like that issue because I was always like, oh, we'll do the shows here. We'll do a show here. I know I can get us a show here. My buddy, from another band, and I was already kind of entrenched in the thing a little bit. So, but I could see there are other bands definitely from our city, the ones I'm talking about. Rockaway Drive is a band from Louisville that like just never could get over a certain mark. You know what I mean? But great band though. Yeah. But kind of the same thing. Didn't have the right connections or the way in. There wasn't a way in also, in a way, back then,
Right.
If you're looking at early 2000s or something, that's a tough time.
Right. No, it really was, I mean, I remember during those years, I was like freshly out of high school. I mean, I didn't finish high school because I was trying to do this kind of stuff, right? So I was touring. I had an opportunity to tour my last year of high school, and I was like, I'm fucking out of here, But I was promoting shows in Ventura, and I had a college fund that my grandparents had set aside. Like when I was born, they put this money into an account, and it accrued all this interest.
That's awesome.
So I took the money and started promoting shows. But no, I was doing King Diamond, Wasp, Motorhead, Dio. I would get a few hundred people at these shows.
Yeah.
Like you think it's crazy now, but I would,
man.
I think I remember Merciful Fate. I did Merciful Fate in Ventura. I think I paid them like $6,000.
Wow.
And that's like probably their catering budget now,
Man, I know.
And there was 100 people there.
I know, it was so slim. I remember seeing Dio on Angry Machines, and in Lexington, Kentucky, there were 60 people there.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is insane. This guy's sang for Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
What's going on? It was just the flux, though, that was happening in music.
I think, though, the internet has helped kill any kind of mainstream. Because back, in the early 2000s, it was like the guitar solo was dead.
Yeah.
This is all dad rock. It's like on to the next, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody's just paying attention to what's happening then. And this stuff is just left in the past. I'm glad that's gone. Because I feel like now, it's like when we play with Sarah Thungle, no matter what country or what part of the world, like the fans are, I would say, 2 to 3 generations younger than those guys.
Right.
Like 90% of the
I would assume it would be.
It's
right?
insane though, right? Because the traditional model is, you make your best work between the years of 18 and 20, right? By the time you're 30, you are done. Like that is done. You're done. I started this band like I was 31 when I started this band.
Man, that's so true. There's so many people flourishing way later in the game now than ever before.
It's really great,
Yeah, that's totally true.
But so you guys have had a lot of output. 5 records, 2 EPs. How do you feel creatively, right? So like, there's another thing. I was talking to Chris from High Spirits last week, and like I read all these like scientific studies and stuff and creative studies, and they say that like people usually historically peak like in their late 20s, early 30s at the latest. But like, I don't know, how do you guys feel about that? How are you feeling like after all this output? I mean, there's a lot of Savage Master material now.
Tons, yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you still feel the spark? Or do you have to, are you, when you have to write, at least, right, are you forcing yourself in that position?
No, I don't think so. It's like, and you might know this from your own writing, like from the very beginning of me writing, some songs are work and some songs are like a gift. Like some come out and you immediately spark with them and you think, oh, well, yeah, this is going on the album, I'm sure.
Right.
You know, and then some of them you might have that one riff that you've been kicking around for 5 years and it's not fit anywhere.
Right.
And then that one day it does.
Yeah.
And then you've built the song.
Sure.
And so, like, I don't think that one has the same spark to me as that one I just kind of crapped out of my brain all of a sudden, you know. But, every time I come up with something I think is good, it still that gives me that feeling. And that's what I'm looking for. And I think we have certain boundaries within the band that you fit, you know, and you don't go too far outside of those. So that's good too, because you know when you write something, you know it goes there.
Right.
Know? And so far I haven't experienced like the loss of the spark. I think sometimes when you're gearing up to finish one, you can feel taxed by it.
Sure.
Like you're like, these other little parts I got to figure out, these little things or extra stuff that you're trying to do, that can be a little taxing.
Yeah, it's always like the last 10%, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you ever experience like sometimes even when you've demoed a song, or like when you're in the studio and you think you're done with a track, and then all of a sudden like you do one little thing, sometimes just like a harmony vocal somewhere or something really small completely changes the whole thing, right?
Oh yeah.
And like the best way. And sometimes, or you could get like demoitis, where you're just like constantly grinding away on a song, trying to solve the puzzle.
Trying to figure it out, yeah.
And it's just like, where is this going?
That's kind of counteractive too. But that's one way. Most writers I know like have multiple irons in the fire. Like they're working on several songs at once.
Sure.
Like you might have one that's almost complete, one you're just starting.
Yeah.
So it's always good to put the most frustrating one aside and move to the one you might be able to finish.
There's some songs that have taken me like almost 2 years to finish, while others come in a day, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But do you feel like putting the work in creates that magic? I mean, that's kind of how I feel. So like almost like you have to serve the muse, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're waiting for it to come to you, it's going to take forever, right?
Absolutely.
But like just grinding away at it, like sometimes you get lost in it and then you're like, oh shit, there's that. Or like the old riff, right?
Yeah.
Like I have stuff 10 years old that I've used recently, right?
Yeah.
I have like a A, B, and C drawer.
Yeah.
It's like file that away later.
Absolutely know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Or like, do you ever listen to demos? And here's what I listen to demos later on because I need them for some reason. And then I realized what I played on the demo was way cooler than what I did.
Oh yeah, that's frustrating.
And I'm like, well, I better start doing that live, right? Because like, just even like little things, I'm like, oh man, I played that so much better.
Yeah.
How are you with the vocals in the studio? Like, do you get like, red light fever, right? Like, is it tough?
Well, this time was a lot better than in the past, because last time in the past it's like everyone's done, now it's time for vocals, you got to get this done, we only have this much time left in the studio. So it was like, but now this time what we did was we were like, okay, we don't want to do that again, so we kind of do some vocals early on as soon as I can.
It was set up where we could do any piece at any time.
In the studio we were at, was very helpful in that. And then they also had like, we could relax and stuff and chill in another room.
If she burned out, we could do leads. If he burns out, I could do more bass. So
and I would just sing on something until I started just getting too fatigued to do it the way I wanted to do it, and then let them work on some strings or drums or whatever, and come back later. That was so helpful.
Process,
Oh yeah.
In the past, though, definitely she's been in a crunch.
Yeah.
To get it
this is the first time we did it this way,
Yeah.
but in the past it's like, okay,
I feel
just force it and just go.
I feel you.
So
I've been enjoying the creative process more, but I hate recording.
it's hard.
yeah.
Because it's just so frustrating.
I think it's very nerve-wracking, especially if you're in charge. Like, you're the guy in charge, pretty much of your band. So it's like, it's twirling around in your head all the time. Like, this is going to be a catastrophe. This is great. I hear this one drum part, or these tiny things that you only hear, or you and maybe one other guy in the band really hear all this stuff. So it can be very frustrating and time consuming. I was going to double back to when you said you're demoing or you're recording and you do something different and you hear that and think, oh, I got to do this. That's like such an interesting moment too, because it's exciting but also super frustrating. You're like, oh, another thing we got to do. Like, this has got to add this. I got to have this because I know it's good, but now I got to also explain it to the other guys and blah 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 blah. This kind of stuff. It goes
right.
Sometimes
where does it end?
Yeah, sometimes I would rewrite her lyrics like on the spot. I'd be like, hold on, this will be better. Like, you'll come to you.
Okay, and like that, when you do that, that lives forever.
Yeah.
Like that moment, that impulse in that moment lives forever.
Yeah,
so
it's always there.
You second guess yourself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're already doing it. You're like, shit, you could have had that lyric for a year, and now you're just like, fuck it.
Nope.
You know?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I find like even when you're in the studio making a record, there are some magic moments that never happened in the demo process. But I think that's also reverse, as above, so below, right?
Yeah.
You know, like there's also things that you just bypass or forget because you're so, you're like, oh shit, we're making a record. This is for real. The pressure is totally different, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever? Well, let me ask you this first. When the process of you guys making records now, right? So, like, do you record anything live together, or is it just piece by piece? Like,
what we did for the last two were getting live drum tracks to a live guitar,
right?
Using some of that live guitar,
right?
Sometimes, if it's great, especially in the intros.
Is the full band playing together?
The last time we did bass and guitar and drums in the room,
right,
with John.
But even if you're not laying everything to tape, like, is everybody playing together?
Yeah.
Cool. Are you singing?
Not while not
now
all
sometimes
at the same
she
time.
would sing certain cues,
right?
Because
Right.
you may have it gridded, but you still want it to feel natural, and
right.
So we might need her to do, like when we were doing Edge of Evil.
Yeah,
that's one where we needed her cue to make sure it slammed just perfectly.
I was watching this interview last night in the hotel room when I was going to bed with the singer for Counting Crows, who I know is a favorite of you guys. But it was just interesting. I like to go outside of metal and rock a lot, just because it's like there's great musicians of all genres, and they know a lot more than us. Actually,
there's a lot of inspiration to be found in outside music,
right?
Melodies and
exactly.
concepts. Yeah.
But so what he was saying, like with their band, it's like a lot of it has to do with the interplay with the vocals and the drums, and I was like, what? So one cool thing that maybe I was thinking, like with a band like you guys, what might be cool, like next time around, is like you sing while they're doing the basic tracking, even if they don't want to hear it, they don't have to have it in their mix, but you might be able to. There might be some gold there because the pressure's not on. You can really go for it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you can experiment with things. And, with modern recording techniques, you can comp anything and piece it, Yeah, right? So, but that's something that, because I play an instrument, so it's probably not something I would want to do in the studio. Do those simultaneously.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, if I know the song well enough, maybe I could.
Have you ever done that? Tracked bass in your vocals?
No, but Rick Rubin he told this story where he was producing Neil Diamond, and he was saying that Neal would go in to track the vocals, and something would feel off. It would feel different. Like he was way too focused on his enunciation and all this. And so Rick said he gave him a guitar, and he's all, play the fucking song while you're singing it. And he's like, yeah, but it's too hard. I can't. He's like, just fucking do it. And it came out way more organic and real. Like he was really doing it. Right. So, I mean, there may be something to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can see that.
But it might also take a lot of pressure off you, Stacey. Like if you can start doing it then, because something like you might get a take. Just be like, I'm done. I'm definitely done. And also, if the guys do want to hear, sometimes with the stuff that you guys sing about, like it might, it is kind of important, right? Like it might make everybody else kind of feel more into it, because you want an organic performance, right?
Yeah.
How many shows do you think you guys have played?
We've actually recently been talking about how we need to get a count.
Talking about how we need to get a real count, but it's got to be up there. I mean, hundreds, 300 maybe, 400. It could be.
I don't know.
It's at least 3, I think. I mean, it could be more than that.
Right.
I think
but we were just recently thinking about getting a solid list of. What do you think you guys have done? I mean, Lord,
I know what we've done.
What have you done?
Yeah, we have a count. We're about 900.
900. Okay.
I know we're not that far, but we're pretty far in. We've been consistently turning around.
But you guys are still sane and you like each other still.
Yeah, somehow. For today,
How have you guys felt? I mean, I've watched the progression from the start, so like the live performance has definitely had an evolution,
Definitely.
Playing in the masks, I mean, like is that something that you had to get used to? I mean,
man, it's a nightmare.
Do you remember like the earliest shows, right? Like, was it like just like what's going on? Right?
Yeah, I remember I can't see my guitar. What am I playing? Like this is like a whole different mindset. You have to, and we had practiced in the outfits a little bit. In anticipation, but I think it was more than anybody expected.
It's different.
I think you're sweating more.
It's different once you hit the stage.
Yeah, and it's dark out there.
It was worse back
then. You can't
then.
see your guitar, and you're like, there's so much pressure to it. Now it doesn't bother me at all. Like I just think this is the way we do it. I'm ready for it. But I also know the songs I can play with my eyes closed. Because that's what you have to do.
Right.
And we have our guitars marked as well now. Like so, if it's too dark, you can at least see where you start.
Right.
Right. But originally, and it was really hard to convince the other guys. It was very hard for us to find a lineup
that would
general
even do it.
The first time, just to play this kind of music there. That was tough.
Yeah.
Really?
Very tough.
I remember back in the day, when we were all just hungry to do it and trying to figure it out. I mean, we had 5 days off on our tour and we stayed with y'all. Yeah. And we're just hanging out. I guess this is what we're doing,
That's how it is.
And I remember we went out to Brandon's house and he didn't live anywhere close and just kind of it just seemed like you guys were I mean, and I'm not saying this the wrong way the wrong way at all, but just I want to use the right word. I don't want to insult you guys because it's a compliment, but it's like it was just this ragtag group of people that kind of like you met at like a youth prison or something,
right.
You know, you know what I mean?
A youth prison called Kentucky.
Yeah. No, you know what I mean? It was just
totally. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it was very ramshackle.
They were like, you guys to me were like characters in the B movie, you know, like it was like a good one though, you know what I mean? Like a cool one, or like River's Edge or something.
Happy to hear that.
You know what I mean? Like I thought anything could happen out here.
Yeah.
And like we're drinking moonshine and shit, like bonfires, like explosives, you know, like you know, I'm getting so drunk, I'm like. I woke up in a cow pie. And,
no, my goodness.
You know? I'm just like, what's going on? You know, it's like it was great. It was like if the family of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre were nice people. You know?
Right.
Like,
nice.
You know,
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, but no, I really felt that. You know, and it was cool, and I felt like. Man, something's brewing here, you know, with all these bands, right? You just got to go out but we were all so far apart geographically.
Yeah. But you were seeing it firsthand, whereas we weren't out there yet. We were just starting off. Yeah. But I know that you were starting to at least see it happen here and there. And I don't know about you or like how your entry was, but I remember the first bands I seen that I thought that it might be viable were probably like Enforcer. Some of those Toxic Holocaust, those thrash kind of retro bands, I thought, maybe a retroism is possible. Maybe this is possible. Because they were doing pretty well at the time. Yeah. And Enforcer especially, because I thought, this literally sounds like very 80s. Like, not just copycat, but it sounds like the records kind of.
Yeah, there were 3 bands for us. It was Enforcer, High Spirits, and a band from San Francisco.
That's where I was going to go, High Spirits next.
Midnight Chaser.
Midnight Chaser, absolutely.
And so I'm like, okay, you got Sweden, Chicago, and San Francisco, right? And I'm like, Then we discovered Cauldron from Canada.
Another one, exactly.
And then near us, you had bands like Warbringer. Mm-hmm. You know, bands that next generation thrash.
Yeah, that was like an eye opener too. Like I remember Avenger of Blood, Warbringer. There's several of those bands.
I feel like those bands though, they had a way lower barrier to entry because they were way harder bands, and like so they would easily fit on whatever. And like Megadeth was taking Havoc on tour. It was like, dude, they were there already. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And they were signing to the bigger labels were signing the thrash bands, right? You know? Yeah. And so they took off right away. Whereas now I feel that's kind of waned a bit because the older thrash bands never quit. And now they're putting out more records and all this stuff.
And also that thrash wave was like massive. Right. There's like thousands of bands that did that suddenly. And that always diminishes things to a certain
I think so too, and I think like it's kind of there are some like thrashers for life, but for the most part it's a youth sport. Yeah. So like
I agree, it's youth music. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like
so exactly. So it's like at a certain point, you know, even in hardcore, it's like at one point there was no Minor Threat and there was Fugazi. You know what I mean? Like people grow up and it's like, well, either I don't have the energy to do this anymore, or like I look at the world a lot differently now.
You see things much different.
You know what I mean? And then there's some people that are just like, I will never listen to a melody in my life. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know?
It's all blasts all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have a hard time identifying with people like that. Even though I've got a lot of close friends, you know, that are like that. Like, it's hard for me to talk music with them because everything is just like, that's pussy shit, you know, or like,
And my brain is very like song oriented anyway. Like I like songs, like in the classic sense. You know what I mean? So
no, that's right. It's all about the songs, right? You know, but like so along with that, you know, so you guys have done all this stuff. You're still out there doing it, you know. Like and we've, you know, Adam, you and I have kind of talked about this here and there, but like, how do you guys feel about like the current culture of I guess the music business for what we're doing? I mean, a lot of people talk about the music business and all this stuff, but they're really talking about all this other shit that has nothing to do with what we do. You know, I think what we do is really unique. It's its own fucking thing, right? But like, I mean, do you see it? And I briefly touched on this earlier, but like, it's got to be. Do you feel it getting better in the U.S.?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, compared to when we both started out, yeah, immensely, 100%.
Okay.
I mean, there's a huge underground subculture that supports this music now that was not there before. You know, there's all kinds of kids that were too young to even be there when both of our bands started that are there now. There's a lot of bands. There's a lot of just interest in general. You see something like Hell's Heroes, that's definitely a step forward for the scene. To me, to see that many people out there rocking those shirts, those patches of those bands, that era, that's a big improvement from where we all started out with.
A huge improvement.
And that's not to stop there. There's Legions, there's Blades of Steel. You know, it goes on and on with these fests. You did one yourself, very successful, and that's surprising too, because that's a little bit back there. But you pulled it off 100%, and that's just the scene is there.
There was a big empty hole for it, and there still is there now. I'm like, why didn't anybody pick up the torch on that? Jesus.
I know, right? Really,
you know. But tough. I don't know. We've toyed with the idea of doing it again, but it's like, you know, we've got to make ourselves available to do that. You know what I mean? So, like when you're in the band too, it's like you're sacrificing a lot by doing that. You know what I mean? Like when you guys, I remember because you guys were, one thing that's cool about you guys that we always respected is that like just like us, I mean you guys were going to Europe really early on, you know, and some bands they don't go to Europe for the first like 10 years, you know what I mean? So when in those days, you know, 10 years ago going to Europe, right, like you could feel the difference. You're like, you're like, holy shit, dude! This is where I have to be.
It was such an eye opener.
Like without Europe, I don't think either of us would have careers now.
No, I don't know if we would have continued on without that carrot, you know, of Europe. Because the first times we went over there, like you're saying, it was just like completely day and night from what we were experiencing here. You know.
But now I think it's like becoming somewhat on par. Like the U.S. is coming up because. And I still get it. I don't know if you guys do, but I still get it. Every time I go, somebody talks to me and like, you know, like how does Europe compare to the or the U.S. sucks for metal, right? You know?
Right. Yeah.
And now my answer is completely different. I'm like, you know what? It's a freaking huge country.
Yeah.
Right. And like you got to understand like that first of all, right? And we have like 50 little countries.
Yeah.
We have like 50 Europes.
Oh yeah.
You know, like,
and I think in all major markets, metal does pretty dang good. It's kicking butt, you know.
Of course.
Even for like the retro type stuff that we do, not bad at all. You can hit a Chicago anytime and it's going to be good.
Yep. You know, and like I see like that, you know, a lot of the kind of I guess more popular bands are taking notice to bands like us. You know what I mean? And other bands are getting tours. You know, and I think that. The problem with our scene is that the business side of it has not caught up with the bands.
Definitely.
So, like, booking agents, record companies, press, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what's going on with that.
It's yet to be exploited properly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but that's where I think where the DIY wins.
Yeah,
you know what I
definitely.
mean? If you can be self-sufficient and do as much as you can on your own, then you're not relying on that side of the industry or waiting on them to bring you up, right?
Yeah.
And I definitely think our whole scene is outside of that. It's not really. It's like what you're saying. It's not really a part of that world. I mean, technically it is because it's the music business, but we're living in this other completely different bubble outside of all that stuff, kind of.
Yeah, it's pretty weird to think about it. Like if you think about how many cities that you've been to, like over and over and over again, right? And like how many people you now know everywhere.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was thinking last night, I was like, man, we're getting fucking old.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? Like,
well, that happens, you know, the longer you stay in, the longer it goes.
We're still like the younger bands.
Oh, people still refer to us as a new band. And like, we're 12 years on, man. There's
5 records and 2 EPs.
Void from Lafayette, that's a new band.
Right.
Those kids are out there. They're kids. They're doing it, you know. That's a new band. But to the world, a lot of this music's still brand new.
But when I hear about those guys, and I'm like, we're like 20 plus older, 20 plus years older. We're older than them. That the gap between our ages, like we have more year. How am I trying to say this? Like their actual age is less than the years we are older than them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
That's a retarded way of saying it, but like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to get at, right? You know what I'm trying to get at? Like, that's scary. Because, like, I don't know. Okay. I still feel pretty young. Do you guys feel pretty young?
Oh, yeah.
So, like, when I talk to kids, like, I don't realize what they're seeing, right? I'm just like, yeah, dude, yeah, bro, hit this joint, you know?
Yeah.
Right? And then I walk away and I'm like, holy fuck, dude, I'm the burnout.
You're that old guy.
I'm the, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, totally.
like these guys are like, whatever.
Yeah,
loser.
they're like, that old guy, man. That old guy's a trip.
It's so weird, right? You know?
man.
It's so fucking
And then on top of that, though, Jarvis, like, there's guys that advance 20 years in age above us that are still also in these functioning, like,
Right.
new wave of British heavy metal bands.
Yeah.
Like Saxon or something, that's a successful one. But there's
Yeah.
all kinds of ones that are just
there's tons.
on the mid-level that...
I mean, you got the
They're
Stones
way older
playing in
than
their
me.
80s. Like
Yeah.
the whole goalpost has moved,
Yeah.
and as we age, it helps me. Like it gives me confidence because the thing is always this, right? You get this, right? Like oh, looking forward to Savage Master replacing the Judas Priest when they finally retire.
Right.
What people don't realize is the gap between our bands and their bands is so massive.
Yeah.
That like, and that's what I'm saying. I always put it back to the press, to the labels, to the festivals. Like, guys, it's up to you to put us up there now.
Yeah.
Because we're in the prime.
To get it going. You
We're
know?
in the prime, right?
Yeah.
If you tell your fans, if you tell the public that like, hey, we're worthy of like the big spot on the festival or the cover of the magazine, right?
Right.
It's because we've earned it. And when these bands finally do go away, if that ever does happen, then we can be ready for that. If you're not doing this for the younger bands that are, by the way, younger bands, I see they're outperforming the older bands too. They're putting on a better show. It's
Yeah.
better entertainment.
You're doing great.
And you always have fans going, man, you know, this band blew that old band away or something. You know, I'm not saying get rid of the old bands.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
not fucking ageism. I'm not, and I still love these bands, right? But you know, there has to be some push from other people that are in charge of these things versus like, we can't do it all on our own. Like we work as hard as we can. The people that love us. They want to see us there too. But there's a lot of people that if you tell them, they'll believe you. And then the band can deliver it. The band
Right.
will not let those people down at all.
Absolutely not, right?
Right?
Right.
So, you know, kind of like if that doesn't happen, what I see is like it's not like the Night Demons and Savage Masters replacing Maiden. It's going to be like a tribute to Iron Maiden, and then we're still in the same spot.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Like all
Yeah.
they're going to do, you already see it. There's going to
Yeah,
be
man.
0 original members.
Right.
You know, because they're just like, oh, well, people want to hear those songs.
I
It's
think
like,
the rise of cover bands on real shows is a weird thing.
It's insane.
That's very weird to me, and I don't want to be like a downer about it, but it bugs me out a little bit. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
It seems unfair.
it's like completely unfair.
you know, like, fuck.
It's out of fear, and this is not.
Yeah, I think that's true.
This is
yeah.
not a game for the afraid. You
That's
know?
totally true.
And we need evolution. We have to move on as a
Yeah.
music culture, right? It's not like we don't pay tribute to the greats. Come on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like younger bands won't throw a cover in their set. That's awesome.
course,
you know.
Right.
But the same thing, like when we're talking about guys that are older than us, 20, 25 years older than us, still doing it. What frustrates me sometimes is like a lot of these guys will, you know, they're in a bad spot because they're still trying to make new music, and people just
Yeah.
want to hear the
old music.
the record that they made when they're 20.
Yeah, man.
And that's the advantage I think that we both have of starting these bands later in our career, because we were in 30 bands before this. We know we made all the crucial mistakes, or most of them. Do you
Most
know
of
what I
them,
mean?
yeah.
Like the ones that really fuck
Right.
you. You know, what
The
I
ones
mean?
you can see coming.
Exactly, and so you kind of have a better idea. You're more mature to actually go, okay, this is what my legacy really is, right? I'm ready to do it now. But life's a cruel game, you know?
Yeah, man.
Like the older you get, the wiser you get. Right when you've figured out who you are, your body starts failing you. You know? You're like, so
That's very true.
That's so real, man. That's so
Absolutely.
real.
It's just
It's like another headache all of a sudden. You're like,
right
oh,
when
man.
you're on when your mentality is realized, the physical decline is real. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like, you know, But that, then again, that's just how
life,
it is.
right?
I really just do not want to age, like mentally.
Yeah, sure.
No, really, I don't. We can't help, Father Time, right? But I would like to still be. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird being at this age and realizing that you are, because I really never realize it until I'm just kind of alone, and I'm like, fuck.
I think I'm worried about losing mental sharpness.
Oh,
stuff like
dude,
that.
I take fucking brain pills,
Those
like nootropics, and like
that stuff worries me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like what will happen to me then?
or like because we're so busy and we have so many things going on. Like, is this a good exercise, or am I doing damage to my brain? Right? Because I'm not. It's like you see people that live to like 100 years old, like they have a chill life. They're like, dude, I'm going to read this
They're
book.
not stressing about this stuff 24/7 like we are, And it is a stress, man. It's like a blood pressure pushing thing constantly.
Constantly.
Even on the good times, there's always something.
Right.
I mean, there's some little thing you got to figure out, something you left, something that broke,
Exactly.
Whatever it is.
And it's almost like, though, when you're not doing that, it's like you're checked out.
Yeah, man. It's like, I think you get addicted to it if you do it long enough out here. Mm-hmm. It's like a lifestyle and mentality you get to, and if I'm not doing that, I'm almost like a vegetable in some ways. I'm just totally checked out on things and just vegging.
Right. And
if I don't have that kind of stuff
you're just going through the motions, right? And you're like, things just like, you go in there and they're like, oh yeah, no backdrop tonight, there's this and that, and you're just like, oh yeah, cool. Like, that's when you know.
You're over, like, whatever.
Because you're not like, no, like, we could figure this out.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean, right? Yeah. No, this is
you're like, non-essential, whatever.
This is you know what I mean? All right, so I kind of want to talk about personal thing. You don't have to address it if you don't want to, but you guys have been in a relationship for a long time. Mm-hmm. How did that start? So through obviously organically from playing music together.
Yeah. So
definitely.
Yeah, it started after the band.
Probably like 2 years into it. 2 years into it. Look, we had just been hanging out like probably 24/7 for that point though. Like an amount, how it gets with your band. Like you're spending so much time with this person, and if you already get along with them and things can just progress like that. And that's what happened to us. It just kind of happened.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I think we both kind of tried to put it off. Like, this is not a good idea. Let's not do this thing. Because the band was very important to both of us.
Yeah.
I think we both seen that could be a disaster.
Sure.
Right.
And it could be. I've seen so many bands break up from things like this. Or
most do.
Or have rough situations due to that stuff. But it kind of progressed from there. And then once we were in, though, we were in 100%.
Right.
And then I'd seen it a different way. I thought, well, this is not going to go anywhere. We're going to be solid. So. And that's what happened. We were very solid after the initial bumps in the road. Like, we had to get over, I think, our relationships with other people, other things that were going on in our lives that had kind of come up to this point, because we had been living together through that whole time period. Not as a couple.
Really?
But we'd been living in an apartment for like 2 years together leading up to this.
Okay.
And so there'd been a lot of people in and out of that apartment while we were single and stuff like that.
Right.
So there's a lot to kind of like absorb and understand. And move past, explain to each other, or make sure we were both clear with each other about what had happened and what was going to happen.
That's a pretty good discipline.
Yeah, and once we were in it and locked onto it, it's been totally solid since then. No weirdness, which is pretty good, which is good.
And now it's like, if I look at your band, like everybody that's the other three members that are currently in the band came after you guys were together.
Oh yeah.
So there's no like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The hard part is when, if you started a band with four other guys, and then, you know what I mean? And then this is happening. Yeah. Then that's where you see the conflicts all the time.
There's a whole tension to
just
all
like,
that.
it's the same thing as like when, all of a sudden, like a singer in a band, like, the wife becomes the manager or something. Oh, yeah.
You
know what I mean?
The Spinal Tap, Janine.
There's this kind of separation.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
even if we have somebody in the band, it's like their girlfriend wants to do merch, I get like, okay, for the first time, I'm like, how's this going to go?
Yeah, like, hold on, your girlfriend.
I hope it's good. And usually it's fine, but sometimes there's been like drawbacks.
Sometimes it's not, though. You know how it is.
Oh, so I totally get what you're saying.
Including someone's romantic interest into your van and band is a kind of dangerous situation. If you don't know them very well, especially. Maybe they're crazy drunk. Maybe they're going to cause a bunch of drama for you. Who knows what's going to happen?
I've been there.
Yeah, man.
But there's like, we used to, when we were younger, we had like hard rules about shit, you know, and because of that, or like even girlfriends coming on tour.
We had that too, even though like we're together.
Yeah.
We pretty much had like no other girlfriends allowed on tour.
Right.
Out of that fear more than anything.
Yeah, I think it was a fear for us too, and there were incidents like that that we've had to deal with in the past.
Absolutely.
But like the more we do it, and the older we get, and the more we become a family, I think it's just, like when you tour so much, you learn how to respect people.
Yeah.
And God, like nobody gets road burned at the same time.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their turn,
Right.
Yeah. And you just have to go, man, I've been there and I will be there again. So like the less you say to somebody, the better, and just go through it and just kind of empathize from somebody else's point of view, like when you
That's a lot of it.
When this is your band and you have this vision and you're like, I need these other guys to play their role, and you're taking them away from their lives to do it.
Yeah.
Like for them to have a visit from the most important person in their life to come and get an inside view of like them living their passion, like you kind of got to let that happen, dude.
And sometimes
it's a great thing. I mean, it can be a really great thing.
Yeah, and it's important sometimes too because I know you know this too. There's a big disillusionment about what this is and what we do, and how this life,
big time,
what this life even is.
Yeah.
Like
it's just party 24/7.
And if you're just an outsider, let's say you're not deep into this scene or more pushing towards normal person, you're going to have a perception of what's going on out here with these bands, especially occult bands like us, and that is so much more than we'll ever be doing out here. You know what I mean? And so sometimes it is really good for these people's significant others to visit and actually see the window into how we actually have to live here.
Yeah.
And
oftentimes, when they think they want to do it, and then they live like your first day on tour for anybody is the longest day of your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
It is the longest day of your life.
Doing everything from getting there to getting the show up the first time. Getting it up the first time and getting that done is like, it's such a pain.
Yeah, right? It's unreal.
And it's good sometimes for, people's significant others to see that reality, the work involved too, because I think a lot of people think it's easy or you just get drunk all the time. I don't know what goes on now, but it's totally different, man. We sleep on a lot of floors in the past. We've done all kinds of stuff. A lot of really long drives, a lot of sleeping in the van, not eating right, arguing, flat tires, all this stuff. No sleep, no money, no this. Sure. There's a lot to it. Yeah, and I think for me, what I didn't like about it early on was when you're really out there bonding together as a band and you really have no money, you got nothing, and it's such a struggle. Yeah. And I felt like when somebody's girlfriend would come out that it just immediately created a separation between the bond. Yeah. And I get that it's natural. How's that not going to happen? You know what I mean? Yeah. How's that not going to happen? But it's almost even when you have a fun band thing you do, hey, we're going to pull over to this water park for 1 hour just because we need to fucking do this. Yeah. And it's we're going to do our own thing. And the separation.
Yeah. It doesn't mind. I don't care so much anymore at all.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
But that's kind of how it was then because we gave everything up to do this.
Yeah.
All of it,
maybe it's coming from a punk thing. I don't know, but I've had much more of a family, you're a part of this group, you're part of the pack, and the pack acts this way. We do this as a group, and this is, and when the other person comes in, like you say, it creates this other, separation from that, and it kind of bugs you out or something as the band leader. I don't know why. It doesn't now, as I'm older, and I see it as it's fine. As long as everybody does their thing, none of this matters, you know? But I feel earlier on, especially what you're talking about, when you've struggled it out together in this kind of torture situation, you feel a certain bond where it's not that they're taking that person away from you, but they're creating this wall between everybody.
I guess it's odd. You have to put yourself into perspective too, because if you are the band leader, you're going to feel differently about stuff. But again, you have to look at it from somebody else's point of view. Yeah. I remember early on, I had, quite a few girlfriends, in certain cities that were steady girlfriends in those cities. I just had to get this out of my system.
Kind of that's the way it works in a weird way when you're out there for a long time single,
Right. But, I don't know if I was
pretending to be single.
But I always remember, bad times. And
man.
I mean, I feel like such a piece of garbage for all that, but it is real, and I'm always honest with the public about just these things. It's important to know. There's lessons here. But I had a couple women in my life that were financially stable and were well off and would want to really take care of me. And one thing that I always did was I said, look, if you can't include the whole band, then I can't do it. Because I'm not going to lead the charge and be like, all right, you guys are sleeping in the van tonight, I'm staying at the Hyatt.
Yeah, man. Especially as a leader, you cannot do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So
you got to be in the trench.
Enough, I mean, I would, if I was in a 4 or 5 star hotel, the band was too, you know what I mean? And I'm grateful for that, but in hindsight, it was the right thing to do. And sometimes I wasn't able to do that, and it was tough to put my personal stuff aside, right? But I felt like that's the best way you can respect somebody. It's a reciprocal relationship. You need mutual respect. It's earned. It's not just given because of whatever, right? And part of leading the charge is being responsible for everything and everybody.
Yeah, man. It's all on your back.
If you want control, you also have to take all the hits that come with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I see that a lot with, sometimes, especially I kind of think it's a European mentality where people feel like they need all these benefits and extra time and, downtime and all this stuff. And it's a very American way of thinking of hey, no, I got a lot of plates spinning, but I fucking came to eat. So here's the price. There's a price to pay for everything. You know what I mean? Would I like to have 6 weeks paid vacation a year? I'd love it.
Yes,
but
that's great.
Would I like the government to take half my money? No. You know what I mean?
Right.
I believe in equality, but I also believe that there's people in this life that really deserve every fucking scrap off the table they get for going out after it, right? So, but it's cool that you guys have been able to, because I know, I knew early on that you guys were a couple, but it was unsaid, because I've spent time with you guys.
We definitely weren't forthcoming with it for quite.
Well, I didn't even want to bring it up, ever to you guys, because I was just kind of all right, let's see how this plays out,
And I feel like we never had to bring it up as long as we didn't have any major gaps in real life between us at the shows. No one was ever going to question it, really, and we didn't. So. I don't think we've ever gotten in a fight at a show ever for any reason.
I think we were both hyper aware and afraid of damaging the band.
The band was number one, definitely.
Yeah.
That's what we were thinking.
So how do you because here's something that's very near to my heart, and so my girlfriend tours with us. She writes lyrics for the band. She's our lighting designer, and there's been times, man, where I've had to really kind of separate the business from the relationship, and I find what's frustrating is that many times it's just way more business. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's how do you navigate that? What I try and be what is our relationship turning into? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it still about us? Is it about the work? You know what I mean? And we've gotten into arguments and stuff, never anything, we get along very well, but just when the passion level hits 10 of and the stress is there, and it's crunch time, and something's not working, and it's just kind of but it's not personal. Do you know what I mean? It's just kind of right?
We can have an intense bicker at that point.
Right, exactly. That's a great way.
And maybe to other people it seems more than it is, but the only times we really ever fight or argue at all are band related, stresses to gearing up to tour and gearing up to doing things, money for these things, getting all that in order. Did you do this? Did you do that? Those
but
kind
it's
of things.
There's a mutual respect there, and so even if I'm expressing a point opposite to what he's expressing, we kind of both respect each other, and we're really both right in this. We just need to get this done or work together. Sometimes, and we also have such a great sense of humor that we can bicker, and then it turns into just laughing.
pretty easy for us to turn it off.
Yeah.
With the bicker.
Because I think we once we get into the bicker, we were like, oh, this is stupid.
And we've been bickering so long about band stuff over the years.
And we know it's nothing.
That it's like, that's just this thing we do over here. And our relationships over here. It's a different world for us, you know?
Yeah, it's a thing, a disposable
when that
thing.
stuff's turned off, it's totally all chill.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But you get better at it. You
Yeah.
know what
Yeah,
I mean?
definitely.
Like, I've definitely gotten a lot better at it, and it's like, okay, like, I let a lot of things go too now that I'm just kind of like, you know what? Like,
I don't internalize so many things that
some things
maybe I should have never been internalizing.
Right.
You know what I mean? But because that's just extra stress, man. You know, like you're just bringing on more things.
Right. Yeah.
But I agree with you. With age, it's easier to let things go and let things just be the way they are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As long as they fall in the boundaries of us getting it done. You know,
Right,
like that's,
of course.
You know, that's really my
We'll
only
know.
concern.
We'll know if it's not that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it is a double-edged sword though, right? Because it's like the passion that you have is for your work, right? Yeah. And then you have the passion of the relationship and your significant other, right? When you intertwine those, it's like, well, at least you still have the same common vision, right? But there still is a weird separation between the two.
Yeah.
But there's not.
Definitely.
At the same time, there's not.
Yeah.
Like when you go to dinner as a couple, like, what, you're just gonna like not talk about the band? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's also a weird thing. Like we discuss this a lot. Like we just got back. Like let's say we just got back from Czech Republic and we're having a dinner. And we're like, I wish we could go somewhere nice sometime. You know? Like, well, we just went like 8 countries.
Like,
you know what I mean? But that's nothing because it's work and it's like it's not that thing you think it is. You know?
It's not
You're like,
vacation.
I was there for one day or whatever.
Well, I had to explain that to Laura because now she's done like so many tours, but like at first it was like, you know, it was like a thing like that. Like I've always wanted to go to, you know, like weird stuff. She's really into the paranormal and shit. So like St. Louis, there's like a house that's haunted or whatever. And I'm like, there ain't no way we're getting there today.
Right.
And now she's realized that like, she's been there 5 more times or something, right? And it's like every time you go, you take another little chunk out of what it is.
Yeah.
So you have to visit a place 12 times before you like have
Get the full experience. Yeah.
But the thing is, the work will take you there.
Yeah.
Whereas most people will be like, I'll never go there in my life, or I'm going to save all my money and go there once in my life.
And I've been there like 10 times already.
Right, exactly.
And one time I got to see the stuff. You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like maybe you're lucky and your day off is in like somewhere great. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
It's in Paris or it's in Vienna or something. You're just like, oh, let's wander around. Let's go see this stuff. We were just talking about doing this English run later this year, possibly, and like, what could we see? How hard is it to see anything? You know, because you know it's hard as hell to get around over there. And pretty much by the end of the conversation, it was like, well, we'll just play the shows.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
We'll do the shows.
No,
whatever happens.
We've had those adventures like, okay, we have to go to Stonehenge.
Yeah, we went to Stonehenge as well. That was great.
Or it's like, but that's an excursion.
Well, lucky to have that day.
You
might have that day off.
We want a picture at the mill from the cover of the first Sabbath album. It's like, okay, that's gonna be,
that's a jaunt.
You know. But yeah, no, it's all good, man. It's all good. I'm glad to get some clarity on that, and I hope everybody, all the fans out there, like, because you know, people talk about stuff, and it's good. It's good to know. So okay, so just to wrap it up, like, you guys have what I believe is like the best lineup you had, like, musically.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
I mean,
100%.
the last 2 albums,
Yeah.
like, there's a lot of growth there, but not like, this isn't Savage Master. Do you know what I mean? It's like, fuck yeah, this is like the Savage Master that like I wanted to hear, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Agreed.
And I love the early records. I mean, even from the first record, you know, I was like, oh shit, you know, this is there's something unique about this, you know? And when I was trying to get Sarah Thungle back together, I was like, well, if Tim doesn't do it, we're just going to get Stacey. So I was like, this band might not last past an album. But where do you guys want to see it go? Like, do you have clear-cut goals, or is it like, is it moment to moment? Is it, you know, like do you want to keep the clip that you're at, is what I'm saying.
Right. I think I'd imagine we'll keep this for a bit, but it would be nice to move up like one or 2 levels, just for comfort's sake. Would be nice.
Well, like, one thing I think we're really focused on is like there are things we can do with our stage show when we're in a proper venue that is not possible if we're on like a really small.
That's
club
something
stage.
that we're thinking.
And
Like
even as
maybe no more smaller ones because the visual aspect just doesn't.
It doesn't-
It'll slow us down, but
yeah.
in some ways I think it'll be better because we're giving the show we really want to give.
Right.
Yeah.
So quality over quantity.
Quality
Yeah.
over quantity.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat now too. You know, with us,
Uh-huh.
it's kind of like you've established as much as you can, and you know, like Boise on a Tuesday night is not something we're shooting for anymore.
No.
Yeah, man,
If we're supporting
stuff.
if we're
Yeah.
supporting a band and they go there, we'll go
Yeah.
anywhere.
Of course.
We'll
Sure,
go anywhere,
sure,
right?
yeah.
And no offense to people from Boise.
Absolutely.
You know?
No, they're
But-
great. And
The Shredder, right?
Yeah,
Shredder.
Justin Cantrell.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it, man.
yeah.
Played there many times.
But, you know, let me say this. There's something to be said. There's a magic about this. If you can take a DIY production and put it in a small club, it will blow people's minds.
That's totally true. Like I think that's true. I think our goal would be like only the clubs that we can actually pull it off in.
Yeah, yeah.
Because sometimes, and you know this too, you'll end up in places like you cannot pull it off.
No.
You know, but you got to play these shows. Like a good example is we always play Zill and Goppigan.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Like, what show are we going to do in there?
Yeah.
Like,
did it-
we barely fit in there as
No.
just a
No,
band.
there's-
You know,
Yeah, we did it
You know, I
once.
love playing there. It's not like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But what can we do?
We did
Yeah.
2 nights there. And like, sold out in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're on the floor, and like, it's bad for the audience too. They can't even see you.
Yeah.
They seem to love it.
Yeah, they
but
seem to
it's
love-
totally,
yeah.
totally
Well,
a weird
short,
experience.
too.
They love it because there's nothing
Hard to
else
see.
out there.
Yeah, we're like
Yeah.
hiding in the bathrooms
Yeah.
to come out. Like it's
Yeah.
That's
ridiculous.
definitely an underplay, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
we still get called all the time to play there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, dude, no. Like, it's not that we're better than that or
No,
no, right,
but
right.
it's like
It's
we
cool.
can't put on our show.
Yeah.
I definitely
Our
feel
show
like that. I love the
specific to
place,
us.
and I love
Yeah.
Christoph who does the place.
Yeah, and it's a great
they're
place, and I'd love
great,
to see a
and they
show
treat
there.
you great, but yeah, like we do a whole lot of other stuff that's impossible for us to
Right.
do there.
There's literally a symbol touching my back and a
Yeah.
headstock in my hair.
It's a
when
bad
we play.
representation of what
yeah,
the band
they're
is.
only
Well, and they
getting to
just
see
can't
this
even
little,
see us almost
little
at
tiny
all.
part of what
Yeah.
you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's tough
But it's
too because
fun.
when you're out there, if you need a show and you need a fill-in day and
Yeah.
you need somewhere to stay,
That's
like,
the
you
one.
have to do that.
Yeah.
You'll be doing. That's
Yeah.
how we all end up doing.
But so
those
the
shows.
idea is, right, plan ahead and
Yeah.
get really meticulous about the details.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
right, what can we do? I mean, I'm so meticulous, especially, I'm way more meticulous with the bars and the small places.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll go in there right when we get there and I'm like, okay, those TVs need to come off, turn off, these fluorescent lights, these beer
Yeah,
signs,
man.
like, can we just turn them off? Because like, when the stage goes black, like it's not black. Because
Right. Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah,
you
man.
really have to look at every single detail. How
Yeah.
are we getting on and off stage?
Right,
Right?
that's
Like,
important.
where are the stairs? Is there enough room on the sides of the drums? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what?
We have to
That's
do all that
hard
stuff
with
because
the masks,
the
too.
outfits, and we have to think
And
like I won't be able to
capes.
see anything when I come out here. How do I get to the
could trip
stage?
on the
How
capes.
does John get to his drums and not fall?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's the last thing you want to do in your procession out is have a gaff like that. you
Yeah.
know?
One thing that might give you some comfort is like we've been on some big tours. Like probably the biggest one, like as far as production, was this King Diamond tour
Yeah.
we did. And man, look, like even with them, we would get into some places where it's like, hey, this is a fucking big ass room, but the stage is
Dude.
not big enough.
Jarvis, when we seen you in Louisville,
Yeah.
like you guys were so tight on that stage, you were having to jump over monitors. Remember, because
Yeah.
King Diamond stuff
Right.
is so big and
Yeah.
that stage is so shallow.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I watched you guys struggle with that. Like,
Yeah.
how do we do a real show like this? You know, like,
But even then, it's like, what can we do? What's the smallest production we could do that will be effective,
Right.
And not over the top where it's too much going on. I think
Yeah.
bands have a problem with that now,
I agree.
especially bigger bands. It's like the first 30 seconds of the set, the band's already peaked.
Yeah.
You're like, what happens now?
and then
Like,
where does it go?
You've seen all the lights, you've seen all the flashes, you've seen the fastest, heaviest
Yeah.
stuff, and it's like, yeah, what do? You got another 90 minutes of this, right?
Yeah, man.
But for us, I think in a situation like that, we just treat it like it's still a show, right?
Yeah.
So if I got to step over this monitor, I'm going to jump over it. I'm not going to fall, or I might fall if I trip, but I'm going to give it the effort.
I felt like you guys just pushed the energy level up 2 or 3 notches to make them up for that.
Right.
That's the way it felt.
Right.
Like they're really giving it to make up for this
it's out of
kind of
frustration,
thing.
dude.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
and you know that when you play, you're like, well, this is going to be one of those where I just have to give extra.
Yeah.
Like that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to play harder and be more animated and give more.
To be honest,
it just
it's
doesn't
either
work.
like that or I'm like punching a wall.
Yeah.
Because you're like, what the fuck?
That's really the only way you can be productive with it is just give more.
Channel
That's
your anger
it.
into your set.
If it's just a disaster set with technical problems, that's just life.
Right.
Sometimes it crashes, but
Right.
mostly I try to channel that frustration of those things into like, let's just be better. Let's give more. Maybe I'll climb on the monitors tonight. Maybe I'll do this to make up for
I know
this
one
thing.
time, where were we? We were in this really, really small venue, and hardly anybody was there, and I was pissed off, and I just started walking on people's tables. They were eating tacos and stuff, and I just I was just like,
I was out in Arkansas
and I was
somewhere,
like, fuck this,
That's like a memorable moment.
Yeah.
That's a moment that people don't forget.
Yeah.
And I appreciate like the spontaneity of that. I think that's lacking a lot these
I
days.
agree.
Yeah.
And I think that's more of a punk rock thing too.
Things are a bit contrived, like in pre-thought out a little too much with a lot of bands. I think.
Yeah.
There's definitely like the punk thing is wilder. Let's go wild and wow them energy.
Right. Like you need a little bit of chaos.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's even in the music, and that's what I like about the last couple of releases you guys have had. It's like it's really good songwriting, but like when it needs to go off the hinges, it does. You know what I mean? Like just enough. Where it's not sloppy,
right.
But it's just like okay, like it's going somewhere.
It's still got to have some kind of rock and roll thing in it.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. So you guys, new record out.
Yep.
I mean, this is it, right? This is good.
Out today.
It's here. I know. It's out today. You guys are gonna
2 minutes to Tulsa.
You guys are going to play here tonight and
right.
show everybody what it's all about, right?
Absolutely. It's going to be great.
All right, man. Thank you guys. It's
Thank
good to see
you.
you guys.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Appreciate you, Jarvis.
Souls are wicked and wills are weak. Come near the devil, 'tis thee I seek.
Hey guys, Nesbitt here. If you'd like to support Night Demon and this podcast, the best way to do it is to become a Night Demon subscriber. Not only will you be doing your part to support a true heavy metal band out there really living it, you'll also gain access to a ton of extras. Bonus audio content, a subscriber-only merch store with rare items from the band's archives. You can stream never-before-heard demos and unearth live concerts from the live vaults. Communicate with the other Night Demon diehards on an exclusive subscriber forum, and gain early access to all press releases, album pre-orders, new merchandise, and a ton more. And another thing that I think is pretty cool is Night Demon will be donating 10% of every subscription fee to the Metal Cares Foundation, which is a charitable fund the band started in 2014 to aid those in our metal community. So head over to nightdemon.net/subscriber and join us as we make heavy metal history together as one. And on a side note, I'll personally think you're a grade A badass.
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
All hail, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. This is Dusty Squires chiming in to tell you about my brand new signature sticks from the London Drumstick Company. I've dreamt of having my very own drumsticks ever since I was a wee lad, and LDC made that a possibility for me. Founded in 2016 in London, England, the birthplace of heavy metal, the London Drumstick Company has trailblazed a path through the music industry and taken the drummer world by storm. When I met them for the first time, they knew their product was going to withstand the beatings of a Night Demon show. They took the time to work with me on getting everything just right. The balance and weight of my sticks are the same no matter what, and the durability is bar none the best I've ever had. I know my sticks will last through the set night after night. I'm truly honored to work with a company that caters to their players the way LDC does. Their innovation and attention to detail is what separates them from the rest of the stick makers out there. Their custom stick sleeves are unbelievable and really make the entire presentation complete. Wait until you see the design they came up with for me. It blew my mind and was a surprise to say the least. They have all kinds of amazing swag, including hoodies, t-shirts, drummer shorts, drum keys, stick bags, towels, face masks, practice pads, and much, much more. Even if you're not a drummer, you can be a part of Demon history and order my brand new signature sticks direct from their website. How cool is that? And to top it off, the London Drumstick Company are giving an exclusive offer to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. Go to londondrumsticks.co.uk and receive a 15% store-wide discount using promo code DEMONSTICKS. All capital letters, no spaces, Demon Sticks. DEMONSTICKS. I can't thank everyone there enough for the opportunity to be a part of their family and for them trusting me with their amazing products. See you metal maniacs on the road very soon. And yes, the wood chips will be flying.
Greetings, boils and ghouls. This is your comrade, the Crypt Keeper here, reporting dead from the sanctuary of the strange. Tonight's macabre myth is a fright-filled feature, one overflowing with monsters, madness, and magic.
Visit our website at monstersmadnessandmagic.com to stay up to date on all the dark dealings within the sanctuary of the strange. Enjoy the show.
Hey Metalheads, I'm Mark and I host the Metal Forge. Let me tell you about the show. The Metal Forge features the best underground metal from all over the world. We spend every week with a different artist with interviews, in-depth conversations, and most of all, the music. We also feature audience interactivity where you can submit your questions to the upcoming guests. New episodes are out every Friday at noon Eastern Time at metalforgeradio.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking Podcast, a non-genre based, all-ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Okay, metalheads, you've been complaining that there has not been a channel that plays all of the heavy metal videos from past, present, and future for years and years at this point. Well, that time is over. Heavy Metal Television is back. HeavyMetalTelevision.net is the website. Go there. You can see videos playing 24/7, 365, all the time, all the best from the old school, the new school, and everything in between. Check it out, HeavyMetalTelevision.net. It is where the metal is.